Good morning. This is Tim Seldin. I'm president of the Montessori Foundation and chair of the International Montessori Council. With me is Barry Abrahams. Barry is the author of a book on internet marketing. He is someone who I met who has been helping a Montessori school very close to my alma mater, Barry School, the Norbeck Montessori, for more than a year now, and I got rave reviews about him. Barry was kind enough to have a long conversation with me and then drop by Sarasota. He left a copy of his book. And I have to say, I've known a lot of people, including my son, Mark Seldin, who really know something about online marketing. Barry impressed me as someone who went way beyond the norm. I found him to be expert on a level that thus far I've not met. And I felt that he was someone who I wanted to introduce to the Montessori community. I should also tell you, Barry offered to work with the Montessori Foundation's lab school and the Montessori Foundation. So some of the things he talks about today, you may ultimately, as friends of the Montessori Foundation, come across either directly or indirectly. The bottom line is, for the last month or so, I've begun to see on an insider's level a little bit of what Barry is doing. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Barry Abrahams, who's got a lot to share with us today. And by the way, I hope you all have a happy Thanksgiving and that the month of December is not too crazy for you wherever you are around the world. Barry.
Hi, Tim, and hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be here, excited to talk about internet marketing with you. And would you like me just to get started, Tim?
Yeah, that sounds great. Before you do, let me just remind people of a few basic things. If for some reason you've not participated in one of our webinars before, I want you to know that this webinar is being recorded, assuming that nothing goes wrong with the technology, which it has once, and that we get a good, clean recording. We will we will compress the video for YouTube. We will load it online. I will send you an email with the link. And if you go to montessori.org/webinars, you will find a link to all the recordings of the webinars that have happened so far. We're in the process of rebuilding Montessori.org. I can tell you that the address I just gave you will ultimately begin to change because right now they're just a long list of webinars in a vertical line. We're going to put them into another system so that you'll be able to search for them by title and search for them by keywords according to interest. The other thing I want you to remember, if this is your first time participating, is on the right side of your screen, you have a Go To Meeting tab. It's a long, relatively thin rectangle that is sort of gray, light gray, and light blue. And on it, there are a series of horizontal lines. One of them, for example, has the word questions. And I would like you to notice that. In fact, I'm going to ask you to quickly type something just so I know you're there. That's the way that you should share with us anything that you want to ask Barry or me or anything that you want to say. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you, Karen. I see you guys are jumping in. And that's exactly the point. That's the way I monitor that and I watch it, and I will periodically jump in and throw your questions past Barry. Thank you, Susan. I see that you're in there too. I also want to remind those of you who are not listening to this live that we do post these, and we know that many of you are not able, as busy heads of schools, to literally drop everything at 10 o'clock East Coast time or 7 o'clock Pacific time in the morning, and we'll listen to it at your convenience, and that's fine. We'd love to hear from you about topics you'd like to have us explore. We'd also love to hear from you if you have ideas about better times in the day that you would like for this to happen. We are planning after the new year to add in additional webinars. We're going to do one in the early evening West Coast time so that we start to have sessions specifically for Montessori teachers. And we are open, excuse me, forgive me, I'm dealing with a little
But
winter cold. We're going to start having a second session like this during the week. And then finally, for those of you who are really active with the Montessori Foundation and the International Montessori Council, I want to remind you there's a second webinar happening today. It's at 3:30 p.m. East Coast time, and it is the monthly meeting for the IMC advocacy delegates. So if that is something that you are signed up for, please join us, and no, it is not a mistake. And if you are interested in being part of that, if you think you're a leader of the IMC, then you are. And it doesn't matter even if you're outside of the United States, because advocacy is something you would do in any country in the world. It is not something I expect every head of school has time for or interest in, but we're more than happy to have you jump in, learn about it, see whether or not it's something that you're willing to contribute your time to, because it is the future of Montessori. Now, another kind of advocacy is the kind of thing that Barry's going to talk to us about today, which is how do you promote not only Montessori as a whole, but your specific school, with the obvious reason or intention of building a greater sense of awareness of your school, interest in your school, applications for your school, um, candidates who actually want what you have to offer as opposed to something very different, but they've managed to call you and get on your waiting list. And of course, to remarket, to continue to form bonds with the families of your school. And all of the things Barry has to share are part and parcel of that. So Barry, without anything further, take it away.
okay, well, thank you very much. I have a few topics that I think are um, very important to know about. Some great opportunities for marketing your school to get new business and to keep a strong online presence for your school. Now, internet marketing, of course, it gets more complicated all the time, just like the internet does, and it can be overwhelming once you start trying to learn some of these methods. So I'm going to try to give you a clear overview on these topics today, right here. Search engine strategies, and you're seeing my screen, right, Tim?
Yes, I see your screen. I think everyone else does too, right? I suspect they'll be jumping in a second. Go ahead, Barry.
Okay. So search engine strategies, remarketing, also known as retargeting, which is a very interesting and very exciting method of internet marketing to have come out in the last few years. And then online review generation. Online reviews are becoming increasingly important on the internet because a lot of people make their buying decisions based on the reviews that they read, and that's quite a problem really for a lot of small businesses and schools because it's not easy to get reviews. Most people won't leave online reviews, and so there's a solution to that I want to present that I think is very very effective, actually. So I will jump into the first topic then. Search engine strategies. People are using the search engines a lot on their mobile devices, their tablets, their desktops. They're using them to find products, services, and information all the time. And so there is a considerable opportunity there to get visibility and to get new business if you show up on in search results. Now, Google, of course, is the 800-pound gorilla. It gets about 70% of the searches in the United States. The other 30% are split between Yahoo and Bing sites, although there really is no Yahoo search engine anymore. Now, if you do a search at yahoo.com, you're going to get results from the Bing search engine. So it's really just Yahoo, rather Google and Bing that are the game. All right. Parts of a SERP. A SERP is an acronym. SERP is an acronym for Search Engine Results Page. Marketers use that acronym. Here is a search engine results page for a search that I did for Montessori School in Toledo, Ohio. And now if you're doing a search that has local intent, meaning you're looking for something local like a pizza restaurant or a flower shop or a Montessori school, you typically get 3 different kinds of results. You get paid advertisements, you get organic results, and you get local listings. Now, what you want, now these are completely different systems. And the back end of each is completely different. They have different purposes, different requirements, and they're each very highly complex systems in themselves. And what you want as a Montessori school is to have a strategy for each. Ideally, you want to show in the organic results, the local listings, and the paid advertisements. Not only does that create a better chance that your ad will or your listing will catch their eye, also there's a tremendous compound effect from showing up more than once on the page. It's kind of a credibility boost. People think, okay, this one is showing up more than once, it seems more prominent than the others, it looks more established. So there's a lot of research that shows that that's true, including from Google. So it's a wonderful compound effect. You really want that. And if you do have a paid ad showing, along with another listing showing, local or organic, one great thing that can happen is you get the compound effect, and then they end up clicking on the organic or the local listing. And so you got the benefit of the paid ad, but you didn't have to pay for the click. Those paid ads are pay-per-click advertising. An appearance of the ad, known as an impression, doesn't cost anything. So you can get hundreds, thousands, or even millions, depending on if that's possible for what you're advertising, of impressions for no cost at all. You only pay when someone clicks. Another thing that can happen is sometimes you see a phone number I see one actually on the right in one of the paid ads. What a lot of people will do is see the phone number and just start dialing on their phone. So that's another time you just get a freebie from Google. You don't end up having to pay for the click. And I put some, on this slide you see a star. There's one school here in Toledo that is showing 3 times on this particular search engine results page. And so that is very beneficial. They're showing in the organic twice, actually, and also in the local listings, not in the paid ads on this page, though. Okay, so you want to have a strategy to show up in each of these results.
And with that, Barry, you want them to show above the fold. In other words, in the top, I think 1 to 7 position is the most you want to go down. Ideally, when they do that search, most people, from my experience, do not even bother going to page 2 of the Google search results. They want to see it right away. And then you're also saying if they see it more than once on that first page, that first view they get, and they say above the fold because in a newspaper it's typically folded in the middle, and when people look at the newspaper, whatever is there in that first half of the newspaper, that's what they tend to read, and only a few people read it all the way to the bottom, page after page.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, and internet marketers also use that expression for web pages, above the fold, meaning what's visible without scrolling. So you're absolutely right, and so how you rank in these systems, the paid, the local listings, and the organic is important because you want to be higher on the ranking list, towards the top of the page as much as you can. So what I'm going to do now is talk about each of these kinds of results individually. And each one is a very deep subject. So I can really just kind of scratch the surface, but I can share some important things to understand about each. And I will be talking about ranking, how they do the ranking and decide what goes higher up on the page. So right now, let's go back in time to when there were no local listings and there were no paid advertisements. Okay, when it used to be, when you did a search, you only got organic listings. I call them sometimes traditional listings. I don't know if anyone else does, but I call them that sometimes because this is the kind of result we're used to getting traditionally from search engines. And the first question I think to address is, how do they even know you exist? How do the search engines find the web pages to have in their system to display in search results? And the answer to that is search engines find web pages by using software programs called spiders. And these spider programs are constantly crawling the web, following links, and finding new pages. And when they find new pages, they look at certain indicators on the page to distinguish or discern the subject matter. And then these spiders index, they put the information in the index. So these search engines create a massive, massive index of all the web pages that are out there, basically. And by the way, Google spider is called the Googlebot. And not only do these spiders look for new pages, they also regularly visit pages that are already in the index just to see if there are any changes. So if you have a website now, chances are the Googlebot is a regular visitor. Okay, the next question then is, that's how it knows about you. How does it decide, though, what to put on page 1 or what to put at the top of the page? If there are 10,000 pages that have recipes for apple pie and someone searches recipe for apple pie, how does Google decide which goes on page 1 and which goes on page 101? Well, the answer to that is relevancy and credibility factors. And Google has an algorithm that considers over 200 factors. So this is very sophisticated, and it's becoming more and more sophisticated. They are constantly making changes, tweaks, and improvements to that algorithm. But let's talk about relevancy, though, and credibility. When it comes to relevancy, Wikipedia is a great model. When you create web pages, it's a very good idea to focus those pages around one keyword phrase. And that also goes for blog posts, which are essentially web pages. This Wikipedia page is about P.T. Barnum. And notice a couple things. Notice up there at the top of the browser tab what it says, P.T. Barnum. I bet you didn't know those words were important. That's called the page title. And that's the first place a search engine spider looks to determine the subject matter of the page. Okay? Also right here, that's the page heading. And those are certain tags, certain HTML tags called heading tags. And search engine spiders definitely look there to try to determine the subject matter of the page. And very simple, it says P.T. Barnum. Look right here, that's in the web page URL. In the path there, it just says P.T. Barnum. So there's no doubt to a search engine spider the subject matter of this page. It's very focused around just that simple keyword, P.T. Barnum. So that's a good tip for relevancy. Make sure your pages are focused around one keyword phrase. Credibility factors. The age of the page and of the site. Google gives you a little more of a benefit if your site is established. When pages are new, it has a very slight bias against them for a little while. They need to build up some credibility. Other credibility factors, click-through rate. if Google is showing a listing on page 1 in the results for your school and no one ever clicks on it, Google notices that and thinks, okay, well, people just aren't that interested in this one for one reason or another. Maybe it's not relevant. But for one reason or another, they're not clicking. Time on page and site. If a lot of people are clicking to go to your site and then they leave quickly, Google knows that. So, Google will think, okay, well, there must not be anything very good on that site because everyone that goes there just leaves quickly. And the biggest credibility factor is what we call backlinks. Backlinks are links to your web pages from other pages around the web. And the Google's success at creating a great search engine is largely attributed to its system of valuing backlinks. Google's system from the beginning assumed that if a web page is popular, there must be something good on it. And so backlinks continue to be a very important and valuable element. Backlinks are kind of their currency, really, for web marketing.
So if you have apple pie recipe and there's 10,000 of them and 10 of them get, 1,000,000 times more hits, the assumption is you must have better apple pie recipe.
Right. Yeah. Or when one way or another that page is better. People like it more. There's something good there. Exactly.
So one of the questions any school would ask, because a lot of times people will say to me, can we exchange links? I mean, I don't hear it as much anymore, but gee, years ago, I would receive 100 a day. We'll link to you if you link to us. And I think one of the questions schools have is, okay, we've heard about this SEO, search engine optimization. We know it matters because all of us use Google or Yelp to find things every single day. It's amazing. Sit in a restaurant and you want to know about P.T. Barnum, you pick up your iPhone and you speak it in and it does a search for you. So the question is, how do you get these backlinks and how do you raise your search engine optimization? Because everyone who's listening to you is incredibly busy and they're not necessarily very techie oriented. There may be a parent in the school who claims that they'll do it all for them, but almost always they do it for a month and then they get bored and then they go away or the kid goes to another school or whatever, and then we're left high and dry.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, the best strategy for gaining credibility and including backlinks is to have content that people really like. So that's the way it's supposed to be done, and that's what Google recommends. Put something on your web pages that is useful, that is informative. Quality matters, and Google's algorithm will always change, but that will be a constant. It will try to value good content over what really is a lot of spam out there. And because backlinks are currency, a whole cottage industry has arisen to sell backlinks. So there are all these SEO people, SEO businesses that say they'll build backlinks, they will create them. Number one, they're not all created equal. It has a lot to do with the credibility of the website that's doing the linking. There are a lot of websites out there that are just full of web spam, really lousy content. They're only there just so they can sell links to you. So Google will punish you if it appears that you are buying backlinks and just have links to your site from a lot of spammy sites. So there's not an easy answer to that. If you recall, Tim, I was talking to you about starting a program in the foundation where I was thinking of calling it the Promote Other Schools program, where you could have a place on your site where you can do a little shout out and a link to a few schools, other Montessori schools, and then you could, in exchange for that, get a few links, and try to do it in a good, positive, and natural way, so it doesn't look contrived. But there could be considerable benefit from that to schools, and if you're interested in that, we should definitely talk about starting that program. But it's not an easy. There's not an easy answer to that. How do you just get a bunch of backlinks? But the main thing to do, to concentrate on, especially for the long term, is just create content that is interesting and useful.
So a lot of schools will have a blog. And what you're saying is, if it's a blog that people read, that's good, because that's one thing that brings people to you. And if you set up RSS feeds, whatever those are, tell it, what is an RSS feed?
RSS stands for Really Simple Syndication, and it's really basically just that. And there are programs that called readers. The one I use is called Feedly. I can go to this program and read information from all my blogs. It picks up the RSS feed. It's kind of like when you following people on Twitter. I follow a bunch of people on Twitter, so when I look at my Twitter account, I see the stream from all of those Twitterers, and so it's a bit like that. You're putting it out there, saying someone can get this feed, in their reader.
So someone says, I want to follow, for example, you go to the Newgate School, we have a blog, or you go to the Montessori Foundation and follow the blog. It's kind of like liking a page like the Montessori Foundation, or your best buddy on Facebook, right? Because every time they post something, it shows up in your timeline.
Right. Yeah. And basically, yes. And there's a benefit from that if they use some kind of a reader program. Most people don't, but it is something that I do. I find it very handy. I have Feedly. I have it on my mobile phone, and so when I have an extra few minutes, when I'm waiting for the school bus, pick up my kids or something, I can catch up on a lot of blogs very quickly. So.
Got a great question came in from Karen Hobart out in the Phoenix area. She says, we used to use the blogs to communicate to our families, and now we use Montessori Compass, which is password protected, and should we reevaluate? And I'll answer in part, and then you finish up. Karen, you don't want to have stuff that a internet predator could use to get information that might be dangerous to your children. I mean, not to be paranoid, but that's the reason why we put stuff about what's going on at our school behind closed doors. On the other hand, creating content or resharing content that people might be interested in can definitely get people to want to subscribe or put it on their website. Barry knows more than this and that, but I would assume that what you'd want to have ideally would be a blog like your head of school, Chatal, writing about helping children become more ethical or mindful, or the importance of organic nutrition in their diet, or something that would be of interest not only to your own families but other families is one way of creating that kind of blog content, original content.
Right. I couldn't agree more. Exactly. You have to decide your goals and your strategy, and there certainly is a need to just communicate with families directly that are already connected to the school. I could see that, and then you want to have other content that can show up when people search certain phrases. And let me see what I have next. On the Barnum page, I just want to make a small point that's on the subject a little bit. one thing I noticed and thought about when I looked at this page is his name was actually Phineas Taylor Barnum. Of course, he was known as P.T. Barnum. And I just think it's worth noting that they optimized this page for P.T. Barnum because that is what people will search. And so when you create your web pages and blog posts and you consider the keyword phrase that you're optimizing for, think of it if it's something people will search. So don't forget to consider that carefully when you create your content for organic search.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay, I went back too far. Credibility factors. Okay, just to sort of wrap up talking about organic visibility. As I said, have pages focused on one main keyword phrase, provide valuable content. And here are some ideas for content. Good lists. People really like lists. They like stories. And I think having a lot of good stories on your website can be effective. People like to read them. You could have videos of people telling stories of things that happened at the school. Informative videos. It's good to have images with people's faces. A lot of research shows that people just get a warmer feeling and feel a better connection when looking at a web page that has images of people's faces. Think quality, value. Offer them something. Give them value on that page. Give them information that's valuable to them. Offer them something. And stickiness. You don't want them to just go, well, there's nothing much here, and then leave quickly. Do something to try to pique their curiosity. Say, read our list of the best ways to do this, teach your child to read or something like that. And a very important point, avoid overuse of graphics that can slow down the page loading time. Page loading time is really important. There's a lot of research showing that people don't want to wait, and a slower loading page means lost business, plain and simple. So it's always better to err on the side of simpler. And again, look at this Wikipedia. Wikipedia does great in Google. I see Wikipedia in Google results all the time. Google loves Wikipedia. And again, as a model for page load time, now I don't recommend that your school website look this dry. This is a pretty dry looking page, but I'm sure it loads very fast. It's just got the one image, and a lot of really attractive layouts can be made without a lot of images. With a logo, one nice image. So don't underestimate the importance of having a fast loading page.
It sounds like it may be worth just reminding everyone here who's a head of a school or a part of the administration of a school that a basic skill you want to learn, if you don't have someone that does it for you, is how to take a image that you record on your iPhone or your Samsung and turn it into a fast loading image. So usually these images on a modern smartphone are somewhere between 5 megabytes or in some cases 25 megabytes. That's a huge amount of data to download. Now,
yeah, absolutely.
Some programs like Facebook will optimize them. They'll give you an image that has been reduced down from 300 dots per inch or 600 dots per inch to 72 dots per inch, and from 25 inches by 25 inches, they'll reduce it down to the size you see in the P.T. Barnum. For the purpose of your website or your emails, you want to make sure that you know how to take an image that started much larger, and you want to know how to scale it down. Here's another thing. Here's another thing I want to tell everyone that most people don't know.
Okay.
There are many ways of seeing an image. Most of your cameras record in JPEG, JPG. Every time you open a JPG image, it loses quality. If you ever take pictures on your personal camera, whether on an iPhone or on an iPad or on some decent camera, get it onto your computer and using Photoshop or some equivalent software, save it as a .tiff. That's .tiff. TIFF images do not degrade. So I can't tell you how many people that I've known who have been in the business for 10 years. They have great pictures that no longer exist in a paper form, or they're faded, but they have the digital, and they're wondering why every year when they go to use it, it looks worse and worse and worse. Every time you open a JPEG image, it loses pixels, it loses quality.
Yeah. There's lossy compression and there's lossless compression, and I'm pretty sure that a PNG is also a lossless compression.
That's right, PNG, and that's the one where sometimes you'll take a logo and you want it to have not a white background but a clear background, and that's what a PNG is typically, and that also is good. So the point is, what you want your original image to be very high quality and stable. That's the lossless compression that Barry's mentioning. But when you go to use it in an email or on a web page, you want to convert a copy to a much smaller version of the picture, and you want it to either be a JPEG or a PNG. Sorry for the digression, but I think that's awfully useful.
It is. Yep. It's compression is a major issue when it comes to web page load time. Absolutely right. Okay.
Deborah's asking what size should the TIFF image be. The answer, Deborah, is in general, it's a real challenge these days. And Barry, you may know about this more than I do. A lot of people read stuff on their iPhones, and a lot of us are creating emails in constant contact that are about 600 pixels, or about the equivalent of 6 inches wide. And so it looks weird on an iPhone. It's either doesn't fit the screen or it's too small to read. In general, I would suggest if you want it to be the width of the page you're looking at on your screen right now on Wikipedia, that's about 600 pixels, give or take. And the little image of P.T. Barnum, I would guess from the look of that that's somewhere in the neighborhood of 150 pixels wide.
I think you're close there. Yeah, that's what I would guess too, right around there. As a matter of fact, let's see if I can. I'm not looking at a web page. I'm looking at PowerPoint. I forgot. Okay.
We'll do another workshop for those of you who are really interested in web page design. I'll get one of our designers to give you all a little training on that.
I have a little tool in extension in Chrome, my browser also, that's like a little measure. I can just sort of drag my mouse and measure something live, like that. Okay, the best, just to get to the end of the organic, the best mechanism for organic SEO is a blog. Create posts on a regular basis. They're well focused. Those posts, depending on your website platform, usually end up as their own page, which can show in a Google search result. New posts give you something to promote on social media, so that helps you there. The cumulative effect of regular blog posts is significant. So if you're serious about a long-term or organic search strategy, blog is your best friend. Okay, now to talk about local listings. That's those right there. While organic listings are about relevance and credibility of a web page, the local listings are about relevance and credibility of a business. In fact, a business doesn't even need to have a web page to show in the local listings. And it's very valuable, obviously. I mean, if you can show there, it's great visibility, and it's free if you can show there. Let's see. Now, I'm going to put the same two questions like I did for organic. First of all, how do you get in there? How do they know you exist? The way they know you exist for local listings is you can create a Google Plus page. You basically tell them you exist. You say, I have a business at this address, and you fill out a form. And then Google will send you a postcard to that address to verify, because they don't want you claiming that you have a business at an address where you don't. The other way the search engine can find out is from their data partners. Google gets data from a lot of places, and if Google finds out from Info Group or some other data company that there's a flower shop at 333 Main Street in Bloomington, Indiana, Google can put that in the local listings whether the business owner wants it or not. And the search engine owns these listings. As a business owner, you only have very limited influence on how they appear. If someone wants to upload an image that's not flattering for your business, you can't prevent that from showing. Or if someone wants to go create a negative review, you can't prevent that. So you only have limited control of if you appear and how you appear, but you want to do everything you can to appear, well. Put a nice cover picture and upload good pictures and make good posts. Now, the other question then, how do you rank? How does Google decide which one gets shown on the top? Which ones get shown at all? Well, relevancy and credibility factors, and with the local of the business, that is. This is relevance and credibility of the business, and one of the biggest factors is called citations. Citations are mentions of your business around the web, especially the name, address, and phone number of your business. And it makes sense because if you're a search engine and you see a lot of mentions of a particular business around the web, because the spiders are always crawling and finding information on web pages, and if there's a lot of consistency, it makes a business look more credible and established. And citations really are mentions of your business anywhere on the web, like directory sites, Yellow Book, Yelp, social media sites, even your own website, even your own web pages. If they should have your name, your business name, address, and phone number on each of your web pages. So let me go to the next slide. Moz.com has a great little service. They tell you which are the best citations to get by category. So here are, on the right, the top citation sources for education from Moz.com. So if you can get a mention of your business on those sites, it carries the most weight. All right, you see Wikipedia there. I don't know what it requires to get listed in Wikipedia. I don't know if it's easy or not. Yelp.com, local.yahoo.com. So there's a lot of value there, and you want to make sure there's a lot of consistency. Business name, business address, business phone number. Here are some other directory sites. You can simply go to, create a profile, add your business. So it's good for your local ranking. Best practices for building citations, the more the better. That's my opinion. There is an expert, a local search expert, who said you want to have a few more than your closest competitor, and not 100 more. And I don't know why he figures that, but in my opinion, I just think the more the better. Be very consistent with business name, address, and phone number, as I said. Make sure you choose the correct category, probably education or school. It depends on what site you're using. Complete the profile as much as possible. Add images, descriptions, office hours. The Montessori school that I've been working with for a while now, they actually have a citation on Walmart.com, and I think that has to do with back-to-school supplies. But we found that, and that is a good thing. Okay, best practices for local listings. Have many consistent citations. Make sure your Google Plus page looks good. Link to your Google Plus page from your website. Make sure your website has your city and state in the page title of every page. And there you see a little image. Those words there in the tab of the browser, that's your page title, and that goes in the code of the page, and your webmaster should definitely know what you're talking about when you want to talk about what's in the page title. Generate some reviews. It's not a major ranking factor, but It's a major customer acquisition factor, and I'll be talking about reviews a little bit later. Try to offer quality, value, and consistency in all aspects of your web presence. It's the mix of everything that ends up affecting your local ranking. And remember that it's not about prominence of a web page or website, it's about prominence and credibility of a business. Okay, pay-per-click ads. This is my specialty. I am a pay-per-click specialist. I'm certified by Google as a pay-per-click specialist. These ads, as I mentioned, are free unless somebody clicks on it. So it's a very exciting and absolutely fascinating area. When I first started learning about it, I actually expected it to be pretty simple, but it's not. It's very highly complex, but absolutely brilliant. The people who invented this system are geniuses. It's very, very clever, and I can only really scratch the surface about how it works now. But let me present some important points though about it. One, you always have two simultaneous goals: to get clicks and to avoid clicks. You want to be visible to the right people and be invisible to everyone else. And you use a lot of features, techniques, options, and settings to do that. It's an auction-based system. So you actually set a bid of how much you're willing to pay for a click. And you can do that for every keyword in your account. You can have a higher bid for one keyword, a lower bid for another keyword. The ad ranking system. It would make sense if you paid more, you get a higher position on the page, right? And that's the way it used to be in early days of pay-per-click. But now they use this thing called quality score, which is a computerized critique, basically, of how well you're using the system and how relevant your ads are to your keywords, and it's an algorithmic system to determine how well you're using the system. So the formula for rank is bid times quality score, and the reason for that is because search engines don't want to show you ads that are irrelevant to what you're searching. They want to give the user a good experience and good results, so that's why they instituted quality score. Cost control is actually very simple. You don't have to worry about your money flying away. You can set a daily budget for every campaign. I think they start at $1 a day. That's the way it was, and I don't think that's changed recently. And of course, bids. If you don't want to pay $10 for a click, you don't have to. You can just bid what you want to bid. And bid prices are very expensive for some industries and not for others. I find them to be pretty moderate for Montessori schools, but it does depend on the competition. Match types. This is a very clever part of PPC advertising. You have a tremendous amount of control over the kinds of searches that trigger your ads and the kinds that don't. And without giving a lengthy explanation of each, look at the fourth one down on the left that says exact. And you see across from that, in brackets, it says easy cake recipes. If you put a keyword in brackets like that, an exact match, you're saying, do not show my ad unless someone searches these exact words in this exact order without any other words before and after. So that gives you a lot of control. You know, you can take a very conservative approach to pay-per-click that way. And then there's phrase match, which says the phrase has to be in there somewhere. Those words in order, but there can be other words before or after. And then they get a little more broad. Modified broad. If you put a plus sign before the word, that means the word has to be in the search somewhere, but the order of the words can be flexible. Broad match is very broad. You don't want to use it much. It will trigger your ad for irrelevant searches. It's useful, though, for doing some initial research. Negative match, this saves you a ton of money. You say, if this word appears in the ad, do not in the search, do not show my ad. And you know, one thing that a lot of people will search when they're searching Montessori school, they'll search Montessori school jobs. I found that to be kind of common, and so you can bet that I made that a negative keyword. If anyone searches jobs, the ad will not be triggered. A negative keywords save the advertiser a lot of money. Targeting is very, very flexible. You can target by country, state, city, congressional district, zip code, or a radius. And if you look in that image, you'll see the big circle. That's a radius around the location of this business. But we also added certain cities and zip codes in the area. A tremendous amount of flexibility with location targeting. You can also schedule your campaigns. You know, like you can set one to only run on Tuesday or only after lunch. And you can target, you know, direct your targeting towards certain devices. Like, I want this to show on mobile devices, but not on desktops. I know I'm going pretty quickly here, throwing a lot of information out.
Let me throw a quick side question to this. You know, I've got a
Okay.
couple of people online who are outside the United States. For example, Joanna does a lot of work with schools in Poland. This is worldwide, right?
Absolutely.
Somebody like you could help anyone in any country where Google and Yelp are allowed.
That's right, although I'm not really talking about Yelp right here. Yelp actually has a pay-per-click system, but I've heard nothing but horrible things about it. I'm talking, what we're talking about here besides Google is Bing and Yahoo.
And
But that's absolutely right.
That's right. Bing is the Microsoft version of Google.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have another very pragmatic question that I've had a couple of schools ask me. You know, let's say somebody has 5 families that unexpectedly move out of state in the middle of the year, and it takes a long time normally to gear up and try to get the word out that you've got an opening. I mean, you may have a waiting list, but usually by that time of the year, the waiting list is dried up. People are in other schools. So all you've got is that audience that's coming into the market. Let's say right this minute, we've got 3 weeks before the holiday. You want kids to start, you know, the day after the winter break ends. What can a school in that situation do, Barry? What could you do for them to get them up and running fast if they had such an interest?
I could get them running same day, aggressively. Meaning that I would, like I said, with match types, you could take a conservative or a more broad approach. You know, if there was an urgency to just drum up business and get as much good visibility as possible, you get aggressive with your targeting. And the keyword targeting, your bids, and your budgets. And you have that opportunity if you can get it running in one day. So it's pretty cool.
What's the odds it'll actually do any good?
Well, I think tremendous, because you know, people are going online and searching private schools in my area, preschools in my area, you know, and Montessori schools in my area sometimes. You know, they're looking. So if you can manage to get that visibility right there and encourage them to call or come and visit, you know, it's all about getting in front of their eyes. It takes visibility first. You know, one of the great maxims that I like is, for business anyway, is visibility, credibility, profitability. So that visibility is first, and these pay-per-click ads give you that opportunity, you know, in spades.
So let's take a specific example. You and I have talked about one of our friends' schools. One of my friends' schools is, I think, just contacted you, and I think you've just started working with them. And she's had a run on the bank. Group of disgruntled parents have pulled out, and she's down 6 or 7 kids. Newgate hasn't had a run on the bank, but we have a class. As I said, everything else is full, but for some reason we've got one class in early childhood that's got 6 or 7 openings. What would it take? And this is not just for us, but let's get real. What would it really take to drive that market forward to the point where the odds are we'd actually make a sale? Would it take $500, $600 in a week, $1,000 in a week? What would it take?
Well, that's hard to say. I'm reluctant to guess, and it depends on different things, including that school's ability to close the sale. Because this kind of advertising can get you a good lead, but there has to be that proper follow up. Also, the website has to do its job. That's a major factor. They call it a landing page. The page that you go to after clicking the ad, they call it a landing page, and the quality of the landing page is tremendously important. And that's something I work with businesses on as well. So, it's about it's about really bringing in that lead, and then eventually turning them into a customer. So I really, it's hard to say. I can't put a dollar amount and say you can buy a customer for this much money. There's seasonality also. It depends what time of the year, when parents are looking. So it's just, I'm really hesitant to be able to give you anything more on that.
On the other hand, this is a question I suspect that following this webinar, I bet you're going to get 2, 3, 10, 20, 100 people are going to say the same thing to you. And I know they're going to ask you not only what would you charge for your part of the service, because you're doing things that they couldn't do on their own. I mean, I don't know about you guys out there who are heads of schools, but I have thrown a lot of money at Google ads over the years. And I'm going to be the first to tell you, I know a lot about independent school marketing admission. I teach courses in it. My closing rate is fabulous. So is yours. Many of you I know personally. I know you do a great job. This is all about making the phone ring, getting that qualified customer in much greater numbers than you get doing whatever you're doing already. But the question is, what would it take to make that phone ring a lot over the next few weeks? Is it possible? You said yes, it is possible. Obviously, you don't want it to be stupid calls. You don't want people looking for, cheap, free daycare. You don't want people looking for a charter school if you're a tuition-based independent school.
Yeah. Well, and so there's a lot of opportunity here. Like I said, if that were the mission and the goal, well, I can certainly get aggressive. What I love about these pay-per-click platforms, and they are, like I said, they are ingenious. They're incredibly flexible and versatile, and so you can completely kick into that mode and get very aggressive. And this is effective advertising. But if you don't know what you're doing, you will throw a lot of money out the window. It's one of those things. But what is also incredibly exciting, though, and beneficial in this situation is remarketing. And so I'm just about to get to that. It is just one of the best, most effective, and super cost-effective methods to come out in the last few years. So I would certainly add that to remarketing to this scenario.
Before you go on to remarketing, which I agree with, let me just answer the question ask the question, is some of this stuff covered in your book? I know you wrote a book. What is it called again?
It's called the Internet Marketing Strategy Book.
And it's available from Amazon and other places.
Yes.
And would you say that's a book that people ought to read?
I do. I think so. I'm very proud of the book, and it's intended to just explain in plain English a lot of these methods, and I'm actually going to offer it to all of the attendees of the webinar. If you'd like to have it in a PDF form, I'd be happy to send it to you. I will even send you a paperback copy for my cost, which is about $6, including postage.
That's very kind. We also ought to take a moment, Barry, to just mention you're not simply a broker for pay-per-click advertising. You're really a marketing consultant coordinator. You do a lot of things for schools. In fact, that's one of the first things I noticed when I sat down with you and you started saying, well, this is what I'm doing for your friends up in Maryland. And I looked at that list and I started asking you questions, and it was wholly different than what I've seen before. So we've been talking so far about search engine optimization. We've been talking about credibility, the importance of the website, all of which we could spend days and weeks on, and you could pay people a lot of money. I don't know what you guys hear, but the typical Montessori school has a web page that's done by the head of school's husband, or maybe the head of school sort of faking it and putting it together, or even more typically, there's some parent that did it, and then they leave the school and you're high and dry and you haven't got a clue what to do to change the website. So clearly, websites tend to be the bane of a lot of schools' existence if they don't have a professional communications, public relations director who really knows what they're doing and is handling this for you. Barry is interesting to me because while he's not a website designer, and he'll tell you the first thing, he can offer you advice, but he's not looking to build you a website. I know plenty of people to do that too. But Barry, one other thing that I want to mention to people before we go deeper into this is you said to me about a month ago that you would be intrigued to spend more and more of your time focusing on the Montessori school industry. And if I heard it correctly, that was because, one, you've had enough experience working with the Montessori school that led you and I to each other that you became kind of enchanted by it. And the second is that you've been doing for a lot of years working with all kinds of industries. And the degree that you can get to understand the unique needs of one particular industry, whatever that industry is, you become more and more effective. And I suggested that we would like to see you do that.
Right, and I'm very excited about that idea. I sure would love to. Yeah, I'm very interested in expanding, what I do for Montessori schools, and I do have a list of a lot of good services, I think, and also if I'm doing anything for you at all, you get me as a consultant where you can ask me anything, because I study this stuff all the time, and so if you have a question about making your website better, or someone's calling you saying you need to do this or that for Google, I am a general consultant for all internet, all aspects of your internet marketing, and so I am very excited about that idea.
That's great, and thanks for an incredibly generous offer. If you'll send me the PDF, I'll be happy to either fire it off to the whole list, or people can write to you, whatever you want. But I've read the book, guys. That you want to get a copy of that book.
Oh, thank you, Tim. Well, I will just zip through some other slides here now, if it's okay with you, just so we cover a couple of other topics, especially remarketing and reviews. But pay-per-click advice, think relevancy. You want to have a lot of relevancy between the keyword, the ad text, and the landing page. This is for people who might want to take a stab at this themselves. Some people do. You want to take a watch every penny attitude. You really need to get in there and look at how money is being spent at the different levels of the account. And if you are interested, I will be making a PDF that sort of summarizes the content of this presentation. If you want to email me at barry@brickway.net, I'll send you the book, and I have some other freebies if you like. barry@brickway.net. And okay, I'm going to just keep going forward now in the interest of time. Remarketing is super cool. It is a very highly targeted and low cost great thing to implement for your school. You're advertising to the right people, those who have already taken an interest. And here's an example of how it works. I'll get into more detail in a minute. But a parent of a 3 or 4-year-old is considering whether they might send their child to preschool or kindergarten. Through some means they hear of your school. They go to your website and take a look. Then they leave your website and soon get occupied with other things. They get busy with their life, forgetting about your school, kind of. A few days later, they're reading a news article on their iPad, and next to the article is an ad that says, Newgate Montessori School, call now and schedule a visit. And they think, oh yeah, I was looking at that school and that looked pretty good. Maybe I will plan a visit. So what the remarketing ad does is bring them back. It reminds them again, of your school. And it is just such a great thing to do. Here's a little diagram that explains it. They go to the website, and then you advertise to them specifically, and you try to bring them back, remind them of your school. And now they're display pay-per-click ads. They're display ads. They can show on the side of your Gmail page. That picture on the left actually is showing some ads on the side of my Gmail. That other ad there I got from NewYorkTimes.com, which shows Google Ads. There are millions of websites that show Google Ads, display ads. The click costs are cheap and the impressions are free. Now, I am doing remarketing for a Montessori school right now, and here are some stats for a 2-week period. 5 clicks. Now, that's 5 people that came back. They came back. And why would they click unless they were interested in they're really interested in thinking about the school? Why would they click? And the clicks cost, look on the right, $7.74 total. An average cost click, $1.55. And also for that money, they got almost 1,100 impressions for free. So even the impressions, they're a good reminder. They sort of help keep top of mind your school. Maybe they're looking at other schools, and maybe they're doing research, but you put a little reminder there that says, come visit us. So I don't think there's a better way to spend your money in internet marketing than this. I'll show you some stats for another campaign. This is a 2-week period. 17 clicks. That's 17 people that came back. This is not a Montessori school, though, but it's another business. Over 5,000 impressions show for free, unless they were clicked on, like the 17. And the cost was about $18. That's a tremendous amount of advertising to exactly the right people. Now, here's some important points about the way it works. It works from a code being placed on your web pages, and those codes interact with the cookies used by Google, and also Facebook has a remarketing platform. You customize one or more audiences based on the pages they visit. You can advertise only to the people who look at your prices and tuition page, because if they're looking at that page, there's a good chance they're seriously interested in your school. Or you can advertise to new visitors. You can say, show the ad to any new visitor to my site within the last week, or 2 weeks, or a month. So a window of time is set. And a couple of the other, I'm going to skip over a couple of those, which I already mentioned basically, but it requires a privacy policy on your site that mention you use remarketing. That's just pretty standard. You see that on a lot of web pages. And it requires an audience of at least 100 to begin advertising. That's for anonymity and privacy. So I am very, I'm a big proponent of this. I don't think there's a better way to spend a dollar with internet marketing than this. And before I move on to reviews, anything you want to mention or ask about that, Tim?
Well, I think you're doing a great job. Carrie asked whether we're going to do a webinar on closing the sale, and I sent out a note to everyone saying I'm going to do that. That's next week's session. Sophia's asking who makes the impressions. I'm assuming that what that means is an impression is that somebody sees it on their screen when they're doing something. For example, I was doing a web search for something totally different. I had put into my Amazon basket a particular item that I had not checked out on. And 2 days later, guess what shows up on my side of my screen? Big ad about that. It was a display ad that had a picture of the item and reminded me
Right.
that it was sitting there. And sure enough, it triggered me to go back and make that purchase.
Right. It works, and Amazon uses it extensively. Who makes the display ad? Well, you set up the campaign, in a platform such as Google. Facebook also has it. And there's a network called the Google Display Network, which includes millions of websites that show Google ads. Now that includes Gmail. If you use Gmail, you do see ads on the side of your page when you're looking at your Gmail. It also includes YouTube, which reach a tremendous number of people, those ads. But it also includes the NewYorkTimes.com, and like I said, millions of other sites show Google ads. Google display ads actually reach 85% of the world's population.
85% of the world's population. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is. And okay, so I'll get to reviews quickly. Reviews are increasingly important, as I said. A lot of people are making their decisions, their purchasing financial decisions based on the reviews that they see. And this is a significant problem for businesses because how do you get them? And if you don't have a flow of positive ones coming in, a negative one can pop up and really make you look terrible, really hurt your business. And there is a platform that I offer that I think is absolutely the silver bullet for this. It is extremely clever, and aside from helping create a stream of new reviews, it also has some nice side benefits. And Tim, you're very familiar with this now because we've set this up for Newgate.
Yeah, it just started a week or two ago, and we've got, I think, about 10, 12 reviews already.
Right. Now, those are reviews that show on your site, but this system also helps generate reviews on major portals like Google and Yelp.
And I assume on things like for schools, for our industry, there's typically private school review, great school. I don't know if there's any others, but those are all sites that parents, when they're doing a search, these days they're likely to go preschools and the name of your city, or Montessori, name of your city. And up will come a list, and it'll include the standard directory of schools for your city out of either whitepages.com or yellowpages.com or cityschools.com. You may have something like that. And then you start seeing these private school reviews and great schools and Yelp and Google Places and so forth.
Yeah. And you know what they say is the number 2 most important place for reviews now is actually Facebook. People are really looking on Facebook when they're doing research now, and Facebook allows you to leave reviews on a business page.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll talk a little bit about how this works. Like I said, I am so keen on this, and you've heard me, my enthusiasm about it for a while. But this is how it works. This is a view into the dashboard of the system. You add your customers. You need their first name, last name, and email address. And you can import a whole bunch at once or one at a time. We're just about to set this up for the foundation and import thousands. So it's pretty easy to do that. You import them. You set you set it to send a certain number of emails every day. If you want, you can also just manually click to send them. But a good feature is that you can set it to send a certain number of emails per day, 5, 10, 20, 50. And the emails go out that request feedback. They look like this, and you can customize the wording. Here I've sent one to myself. Dear Barry, thank you for the trust you place in us by letting us educate your child at Newgate School, etc. And they click the Give Feedback button. They then are taken to a feedback page, and they're asked to do two things. Leave a few text comments, and also move that slider to the number that says how likely they are to recommend the school to a friend or colleague. Okay? On a scale of 1 to 10. Now, this is what happens. There's a lot of automation. The beauty of this is the automation. This is essentially the flow right here. Okay? The feedback comes in. Someone responds and leaves feedback. If they gave a high enough number rating with the slider, and that threshold is adjustable. You can say anything that's 9 or above or 8 or above. Then they will receive a follow-up email that says, thank you for taking the time for the feedback. Now, would you please, we'd appreciate it if you leave us a review on Facebook, Yelp, Google, etc. So it then encourages, the happy customer to leave an online review on Major Portal. If it is a low number rating, the customer is not happy, an email goes out that says, automatically that says, we're sorry you weren't happy, and we'd like to address your concerns, or whatever it is you'd like that email to say. One benefit of that is it can help avoid a bad review on a major portal. It's always better to be able to learn about somebody's complaint and be able to address it directly, and then maybe you can, basically fix the situation or find a way to make them happy. Here is a list of automated functions. This is just all the different things that the feedback request emails are sent on a daily basis at a customized rate. If there's no response to the email, it will be resent 3 days later, up to 3 times total. And most responses actually come from the second or third email. As I said, if the rating is positive, a thank you email is sent that asks for a review on a major portal. Here's something I didn't mention yet. These show on your website if you want them to. And you could set it to be automatic. If the number rating is positive, the feedback can be set to automatically appear on your website. If the number rating is low, we'd like to address your concern email. And also notifications are sent to you about all the responses. So Tim, you've been getting notifications now every time someone leaves feedback, correct?
I do indeed, and I've gotten one outright a negative thing that someone wrote that they said 10 out of 10, but they then proceeded to complain about a teacher, which was lovely and embarrassing. So I simply took it off so it doesn't show.
Right.
And then I had another parent who gave us a high review and said, I love the school, and I don't love the fact that in Montessori I don't get enough feedback. And it was perfect. I was able to follow up with her and talk to this parent, and it was just the kind of thing I wanted. I cannot say enough about the value of this particular scheme. I really like it a lot.
Oh, that is great. That is great. Yeah, there is so much value. There's so many benefits to this system, but there's so much value in just getting feedback. You hear concerns or complaints that you might not have heard otherwise, and it actually, from a business point of view, it's a lot cheaper to keep a customer than it is to get a new customer.
Yeah, always true.
Okay, here is the way the testimonials are displaying on the Newgate site. And I don't think you have a link to this page right now from the the main navigation, but it's at newgate.com/ no, I'm sorry, I wrote that wrong. It's at newgate.edu. So that's a mistake, little typo there. It's newgate.edu /testimonials. Another great thing is that these testimonials showing on your site, they have real SEO value. They can really help you with Google. This counts as fresh content, and they're also structured in a format that Google recognizes as a review. So I didn't want this to get confusing. This stuff always can get confusing. So I wanted to put this up again. Just keep this in mind for the review system. This is the basic flow. You request the feedback. If it's positive, then you try to get them to leave you a positive review on a portal. If it's negative, you can address their concern. So that's the basic flow right there with side benefits. Here are a few resources.
Yep.
Yep.
No, go ahead, Barry. I'll come back to the other thing.
Okay. Yeah. Just about wrapped it up here. Support.google.com. By the way, support.google.com is the place to go for Google answers. It's a wonderful support site for all Google's products. There I put /AdWords, but you can just go to support.google.com. If you want to learn about AdWords, adwords.blogspot.com is the AdWords blog. And then you see if you're interested in signing up for an account on AdWords or Bing Ads. And here are some items I'm going to make available. So if anybody would like, I have these pages called cheat sheets to just sort of give you the basics if you're working on this stuff yourself. One is a PDF of information in this webinar, AdWords cheat sheet, analytics cheat sheet, remarketing cheat sheet. Also, if you're interested in a PDF copy of my book, just email me. If you're interested in any of these things, actually, if you just email me directly, then I could start communicating with you and find out what you want and work on getting it to you. And also, if you would like a paperback of the book, and there's a picture of it, I can do that for $6, which is my cost. I'd be happy to send it to you. And also, feel free to email me with any questions you have, barry@brickway.net. So,
and we really only scratched the surface some of the things Barry and I have been talking about, and I'm going to give you an example. I'm about to send to all of you something that Barry sent me. You should have just gotten a text from me with an audio feedback line. And Barry, among other things, has set up a phone line and sets it up for schools too, where people who are interested can call up and leave essentially a voicemail. And those voicemail are essentially what the words say is, this is an opportunity to tell us about your experience with the school, and we really love to hear whatever you've got to say. I'm hoping that all of you will call up this number and say something about your experience with the Montessori Foundation, whether it's Tomorrow's Child, whether it's these free webinars, whether it's the leadership courses, whether it's your consulting relationship with the foundation over the years. If you feel we've helped you, we'd really appreciate hearing from you. You will also be getting the written feedback forms eventually. We have a huge mailing list, so it's not going to go out, tomorrow. It's sort of randomly selecting from many, many tens of thousands of people. But again, we're looking for feedback. The idea of the audio feedback is we get those voicemails, essentially. We listen to them. If they're clear and if it's saying something we think is useful, Barry can work with us to incorporate them into videos. So we make little videos about what is your experience with the Montessori Foundation. And you can imagine how that might work. At your school, that's exactly what you want. And that's part of Barry's services, is helping you to not only collect those parent recorded reflections on their experience with the school that can be edited down and put into a video, whether it's a group of still slides or video images, voiceovers. Very, very powerful marketing and remarketing tools. Mm-hmm. So, Barry, I know that you've got to go. We've actually gone over time, and I've also got to scoot down to a webinar down at Newgate. I'm up at the foundation right now.
Okay.
So I want to thank you so much. Would you agree to come back and do another session with us sometime in the new year?
Absolutely. I certainly will. I look forward to that.
I think people are going to be interested in it. Lots of questions have come in. You've given everyone your email address. Please address any questions to Barry or to me or to both of us. We'll all be happy to help. So once again, this is Tim Seldin, President of the Montessori Foundation. I'm here with Barry Abrams, who has Brickway Marketing, or Barry Abrams Marketing. He is an internet online marketing consultant. I've got to say again, the level of knowledge that Barry represents is beyond any of the wonderful moms and dads, and even my own son Mark, who is no slouch in his own right. He's really got some insights, and he's considered one of the top 4 people in this field in the United States, if not around the world. So, Barry, thank you for giving us some of your time today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure. Look forward to talking to everyone next week. And for some of you, I look forward to talking to you at 3:30 East Coast time if you want to learn more about the International Montessori Council state delegates process to be advocates for Montessori. So until next week, or until 3:30 East Coast time later today, this is Tim